AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
This is Jeffrey Blake, and you are listening to Fascination Street Podcast with the wonderful Steve.
Yeah, AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with James Paxton. James is an actor and a musician and an artist, and we talk about all of those things. We do a deep dive into some of his background, his childhood, where he grew up, who he grew up with, and then what got him into acting. We talk about some of his early projects. Of course, his dad is Bill Paxton, so we talk a little bit about him as well. And then we talk about his music. He is a member of two different bands. One is called Soundaze, and the other one is called Flamingo Dogs. And also, he has a solo career under the heading of Love Pax. He is gracious enough to let me play my favorite song so far from Love Pax, and I think you're going to dig it. And then we finish up talking about this crazy art thing that he does, where I'll let him tell you. We do have a surprise pop-in guest. Never done that before. It did work out well. I was crossing my fingers the whole time. It was a surprise for James, and we had a guest pop in and say hello and give him some love. So make sure you hang in there for that too. Follow James Paxton everywhere. Check out his music under those 3 different band names I mentioned. And this is my conversation with actor, musician, and artist, James Paxton.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, James Paxton. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Steve? It's good to see you.
Oh my gosh, it is good to see you too, man. You are way better looking than just the name would than the name would suggest. Now, it's only because I think all people named James are ugly, but apparently now I have to reevaluate those thoughts.
That's an interesting theory.
So what we're going to do, James, is we are going to talk about you, man. We're going to get to know you and some of the things that are you, and maybe even, if we have time, a little more about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on Fascination Street.
Oh, dude, this is 100% my pleasure. This is exciting stuff here. We're going to talk a lot about you, but first, what I like to do, James, is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised, man? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in a small town called Ojai, California, kind of up between Ventura and Santa Barbara, so about an hour and 40 minutes north of Los Angeles. Kind of a sweet, little artist community, kind of a hippie kind of vibe there. But it's a melting pot because it's far enough out of LA that it feels like a world away, but it's not so far that you can't get on the road and just get up there in a short amount of time. And it's more on the map these days. Growing up, everybody thought I was from Ohio or something, when I said whereas it's a small town, but it was a wonderful place to grow up. My parents didn't want to raise kids, my sister and I, in LA, and they wanted to find a community that was within striking distance to LA, but, a good place to raise kids and a place where, kids can go to the great public schools there, which my sister and I did, and just a really sweet kind of place to grow up. Very kind of, like farmer's market. And a lot of outdoor activities, hiking and horseback riding and camping and stuff. So grew up there in Ojai, California.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to get out of West Adams and Figueroa.
Wow, that's incredible that you knew that, Steve.
Thanks.
Yeah, West Adams and Figueroa was the first place that I ever lived in Los Angeles. It was down by USC because I had 2 roommates that went to USC. One that I met when I moved into the apartment. The other one was Lauren Ramey, Sam Ramey's son, who we had grown up knowing each other a bit. And we both happened to leave NYU at a similar time and I moved to LA. He moved back to LA. And I needed roommates. I wasn't going to USC. I was starting to work on film sets, but I needed a place to live. And it was West Adams and Figueroa was the place that we signed a little lease. Yeah.
We're going to go all over the place here, but I am currently living in a small town just outside of the town I grew up in, which is called San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, you're in Bernie, right?
I am in Bernie. How do you know that? You want to fight me?
Oh.
How do you know Bernie, bro?
I'm not the only one that does his research, Steve.
Oh, snap, son. Whoa, how do you know? Wow. Okay, well, good on you, my man.
I listen to your podcast and I learned that, obviously not to interject with what you were going to say, but I have a lot of Texas lineage and a lot of, I've spent a lot of time in Texas. I've made numerous films in Texas and I know right where Bernie is actually.
Oh, kick ass. Well, next time you're coming on through, holler at a fat kid.
I will.
So, did you go to San Antonio Elementary School? That's not a real thing.
I did.
That's a real thing?
That's a real thing. I went to San Antonio for 6 years in elementary school.
That's weird because it's a 4-year school. No, just kidding.
They actually just unfortunately shut that down in the Ojai Unified School District. I think it's like a charter.
Oh, it was one. It was
one of like the local elementary public schools in Ojai that my sister and I went to. Yeah, San Antonio.
They shut down all of them, right? Like all of the public schools there, or almost all of them?
No, they just kind of took a bunch of different ones and merged them.
Oh, okay.
Not enough kids growing up there anymore, unfortunately, because it's so on the map.
Sure. Yeah. Now everybody knows where it is, and they're like, well, I don't want to live there. That's too quaint.
Well, it's unfortunately the sad thing is just people like locals are getting priced out. People are buying like second homes there. Oh. It's a little bit of a plague on the town. I'm not going to lie. It was a bit more of a family friendly place when it was on a lower status on the radar. So, I don't blame people for discovering what a beautiful place it is and everything and wanting to be up there. But I wish that, it was still more family friendly for kids growing up.
So like you said, I do live in Bernie, Texas, and around here, because we're dealing with kind of the similar thing with Ojai where, people are getting priced out. So they sell t-shirts here that say, Bernie sucks, tell a friend.
Yeah. I have a buddy in Ojai who's actually making shirts that are kind of similar. He's real local and trying to, hey, whatever works.
Yeah, I love it. Bernie sucks, tell a friend. So when we first moved here, I would see all these, we've been living here for about 11 years, and I would see all these bumper stickers that said, Bernie, Texas, gone forever. And I didn't know what that meant because I was like, well, where are we then? I'm confused. And so I followed this dude. I know it's creepy, but I followed this dude to the gas station. And when he got out, I was like, hey, man, what does that bumper sticker mean? And he was about 120 years old. And he said, well, it means that my quaint little town is gone because of people like you. And I was like, well, you have a good day, sir. You take it easy, bro.
He didn't mince words.
No, he was tired of my kind. Again, we're going to go all over the place, but I need to know. You went to NYU for journalism. How come?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wanted to study journalism because, after much kind of to do about what am I going to do with my life, what I want to do, I was trying to think of a job or a career path that would allow me to always be doing something different and always be learning about something new and be able to travel and take me places and meet people that I might otherwise not have just met. And I kind of fell in love with this idea of being, a reporter and kind of being on the scene, of wherever breaking news was happening. That's why I decided to study journalism. And then when I took a leave of absence from school.
Because you got E. coli?
Yes. Yeah, I got E. coli. Yeah, that was terrible. Oh, man.
I don't mean to laugh, but...
No, please laugh. I didn't even know that people could get E. coli until I got it at 18 years old, my freshman year at NYU. And I was like, this is a thing. This is awful. I was at the NYU student hospital and I was just losing weight so fast. And I won't go into too many details.
Oh, shit. Can I get E. coli? Lose a couple of pounds, man.
Oh, man, there's got to be better ways. This was terrible. And I was just falling behind in class with that. And it was just I needed to regroup. And so I came back.
How long did this last? How long was this illness?
Oh man, it was like a good 3 weeks of just really being sick.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
That
really
sounds
being sick.
terrible. I would imagine you'd really fall behind in school, losing
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah, I was missing class and it was just tough. I also had a job that I was missing that I was out because I was bussing tables on the weekend at a place called the Minetta Tavern in the village. And I actually was loving that job. It was hard work, but it was a lot of fun just being kind of at this trendy restaurant on the weekends, serving, people like Jodie Foster and Seinfeld.
You're in the middle of the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. And I kind of enjoyed that education
Jodie Foster.
element. Yeah, Jodie Foster came in. I bust her
gosh.
plates. Common, the rapper, Seinfeld, like I said, it was amazing. And I was really bummed to leave the city, but I needed to leave the city, regroup. And then I started to have second thoughts about going back to the East Coast. I was going to go back to school, but I didn't want to necessarily go back to the East Coast. I moved to LA, and that's when I started studying in an acting class and working on. That's when I moved to that place on in downtown by USC.
West Adams and Figueroa.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. You've done really good research, Steve. It's amazing. But anyways, yes, I realized that there's a lot of similarities in terms of being an actor and going into journalism because I could, always be working on different kinds of projects, hopefully. There's always a big research phase to projects and to specific roles sometimes, depending on what you're playing. And that kind of allowed me to, okay, I can still learn about different, things and kinds of people, places. I can travel with the job. And I always already loved it. I just didn't want to necessarily follow in my father's footsteps at the time. Not in a actively going against it. I just didn't really even think it was a possibility until I started taking some classes and doing some auditions. And I had already done theater throughout high school and kind of grew up sort of around it, visiting dad on sets. That's why I studied journalism. Sorry, I was a roundabout way.
No, that's okay. You mentioned it a couple of times. Let's get it out of the way. You keep saying my dad. Who's your dad?
Yeah, so my dad is the actor Bill Paxton. My mom, Louise Paxton, is a painter. So I come from, very artistic people that are...
Very creative.
Very creative, yeah.
I got to know where your mom's from. Every interview I've ever heard, you say mum. Like you're from Britain. Where is your mom from?
Yeah. My mom is from London, and I grew up saying mum. Probably the only thing that I really say. Actually, I say a couple words slightly weirdly. I say vitamin, which is a strange way to pronounce vitamin.
It definitely is. But mom is the one that sticks out.
Mom's the one that sticks out. That's the one that I have to actively, when I'm doing scenes with a TV or film mom, I have to say mom and really remind myself to say that.
Why do you think it is that that's the only word, really? Why do you think that is? How come we don't have a whole bunch of other Londonisms,
I have a few. I mean, I said tomato when, for a long time until it was basically at school, they were just, why do you keep fucking saying it that way? And I'm just well, yeah, okay. And then I stopped saying it that way. So ever since I was 6 months old, we visit the UK all the time. My grandmother's still alive. My cousins are over there. My aunt and uncle. We see them all the time, especially since dad passed. We started going over there for the holidays. But growing up, I was just always there. So I do have things that come out a little more when I'm over in the UK. I kind of just subconsciously, you kind of, I think as humans, we all subconsciously try to assimilate to where we are for extended periods of times.
For sure.
And I'll do that with the UK, but it was just a habit thing ever since a kid. I just was always calling her mom. I think it's because of seeing my cousins do that, and
I'm probably watching your mom do that, right? Your mom was talking to her parents or her mom. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. She calls her mom. Yeah. My mom still has an accent. It's a bit watered down. It's more transatlantic these days because she spent more time in the States, in her life than she has in the UK after meeting my dad. But when she goes back there, it comes out even stronger as well. And so any American that would meet her today would really clock it. It'd be obvious to them that she's got an accent.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
So you decide you're going to get into acting. And your dad says, look, if you're going to do this, you got to do it. You can't fuck around. You got to take classes. You got to learn the art. You have to be skilled, not just some fly-by-night crackhead.
It's exactly how he said it to me.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Is that when you got Vincent Chase as your acting coach?
Yeah, so another great question. So Vince,
So hold on. So everybody listening, just so you know, it's not the Vincent Chase from Entourage. This is an actual person named Vincent Chase.
yes, this is an actual person named Vincent Chase, and there is a connection to Entourage, though. The main character in Entourage, his name inspiration was taken from my acting coach, Vincent Chase. It was because my dad did a movie that he produced in the early 90s called Traveler, and he had been auditioning some younger actors to play. It was about these travelers, these gypsy conmen cousins. Basically, there's a young guy who meets his older cousin, who my dad plays the older cousin, Baki. My dad had been producing this film. He kind of co-directed it, honestly, but kind of gave the director credit officially to Jack Green, who was Clint Eastwood's longtime DP. And Dad got all this great directing experience, but he was a lead. He produced it. It was like he was really getting into. He really was involved in every aspect of making this film. He had read all these different actors. He had cast Stephen Dorff in the part of the young guy, the young co-lead. Dorff got a Jack Nicholson movie last minute, had to drop out, and Dad met this young actor named Mark Wahlberg, who had done maybe 2 films at the time, like Basketball Diaries, and I forget what the other one was, but he was really young. And Dad was like, we got to cast this guy. And Vincent Chase was my dad's longtime acting coach that he met through Michael Biehn and Rick Rossovich out in LA when he first moved out here after leaving the East Coast studying under Stella Adler. Dad cast Vince to play like the bad guy. Vince did very little actual on-screen acting in his career, but he was a magnificent acting coach who he came up like in the Pasadena Playhouse and stuff. And Dad and him were just so close. And so he played the bad guy and he met Mark Wahlberg and he coached Mark on that film. And Mark always loved the name, thought it would be perfect for Entourage. And so he asked Vince, can I take the name, And Vince was like, yes, son, sure. You can use it. He kind of spoke like that, Yes, my son, yes. And he was a sweet, sweet guy. He was like my great godfather. He lived, I studied with him till he passed away in 2018 at 88 years old. I studied with him all the time for like 5 years. I was in class like 3 nights a week with him, and I would study one-on-one all the time. When I moved to LA, I was just always at Vince's house. So he had a long-time acting studio on Sunset. And then in his older years, he moved it to his living room in his little place on Detroit Street in West Hollywood. Did classes about 8 to 10 students a night, sometimes less, sometimes give or take a few more, but it was mostly the same faces, and he taught me basically everything I know and everything that I use technique-wise. He was a melting pot of all the different teachers, Adler, Meisner, all the main ones. He kind of took what he thought worked and then put it all together. And he would kind of tailor it too, depending on the student, how they learn things. But he taught me everything. And so anyways, he is connected to, he's the name inspiration for Adrian's character.
That's an insane story. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Beneath a dead world, humanity's last survivors live in Subterra.
I care about one thing, keeping Subterra's power uninterrupted. If Subterra goes dark, we are doomed.
A buried city of chipped citizens, forgotten miners, and those who have never seen the sun.
You took a big risk coming here.
I didn't have a choice.
Go back home, girl. You'll get killed down here, or worse.
But in the lower levels, the unchipped have become invisible, and invisibility breeds rebellion.
We want justice for our dead!
You will learn to obey.
When a rigged trial ignites the darkness, a blind orphan, a bunker princess, and a rebuilt combat robot are thrown into a fight that could change everything.
Fellow citizens of Subterra, you are here to witness the adjudication of an unchipped bunker orphan known as Ace.
You want me to lie?
I want you to help me clear your name.
By blaming Ace for something he didn't do? He's innocent, and you're gonna kill him.
What I have set in motion will change this place forever. There will be a new order in Subterra, and it will not be kind to people like you.
No. I'm staying here.
Stay here, then. Stay and die.
Because underground, hope doesn't disappear. It survives.
Let the battle begin!
Advance!
Defend your home! Defend your brothers and sisters!
Subterra. Available now. Download wherever you find podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
So you learned all that from Vincent Chase, but what did you learn while you were tiling Phil Collins' house?
How did you find this stuff, Steve?
I'm friends with Phil Collins. No, I'm not. But I will tell you, we do have a Phil Collins connection because you tiled his house, and I'm from San Antonio, and he is a huge fan of the Alamo and the Battle of the Alamo.
Oh, I heard this actually. Yeah.
He had like a multi-million-dollar collection of Alamo memorabilia, like archives and like just all this crazy archaeological dig shit, and he donated all of it to the Alamo, which
that's
is
so cool.
There's like this whole building that's like the Phil Collins collection.
Wow.
It's wild.
That's crazy. I was there doing research with my dad when he was going to play Sam Houston in this History Channel miniseries called Texas Rising. I went to where the Alamo was with him. And this was in 2014 that we were doing that research. And we went on this crazy kind of, maybe that was before Phil had donated all that stuff. But I didn't directly tile Phil Collins' house. I did the glaze on the tiles.
No, that's not how I'm telling the story.
But there's a place called RTK Studio in Ojai, and I was looking for work. I was like 19, and I was looking for some work, and I apprenticed a tile maker, Richard Kite, who owns that, and he had all his own kind of formulas for these glazes, and he showed me how to tile. And so I'd just sit there, and it was really kind of methodical and like a meditation. I would just fill different colored glazes in these tiles, and then I'd fire them and stuff, and I worked on tons of them for a job for Phil Collins' house. Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
I don't know how big into music you are, but have you ever heard of an interviewer named Nardwuar?
Okay, so I did hear about this person only because about a year ago, I was having a conversation such as we are now. And the guy goes, "Bro, are you Nardwaring me right now?" And I go, "What the hell does that mean?" And he goes, "Oh, never mind." So then I had to look it up.
Yeah. So Nardwuar, he does his research just like you do, and pulls some really deep cuts out. And I always love his interviews and stuff. So it's really cool that you do that.
Does he get to say stuff like this? "Oh, Texas Rising. 2 previous guests of my show were in that film with your father."
No, he does not. I think he just, keeps it to musicians. But who are those guests?
Courtney Gaines. Courtney Gaines was the guy who played...
I know who he is, yeah.
Oh, you? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah. I met Courtney. I spent time with Courtney.
Also a musician.
Yeah. I was actually supposed to do a film with Courtney November of 2024, and it fell apart like a week and a half before we were supposed to be in New Mexico shooting. It was called Dirt, and just indie films, but I was going to get to finally work with him. But I remember I met him in 2014 when we were down in Mexico shooting that and stuff. And
oh, well, then you probably met the other guy, previous guest of the show, Jeffrey Blake.
Yeah, I know Jeff really well. He was close with my dad, and Jeff was up for his audition in Texas Rising, and Dad, put in a good word for him. And I think kind of, they reunited on that. They were old friends.
Very cool. All right, we're going to talk about more things that are specific to you. Like, for instance, you and your dad got kicked out of a theater for sneaking into one of your dad's own movies.
Yes.
What movie was it? Do you remember?
Not sure how you found that info.
I'm friends with the theater owner.
Yeah. So, like, this theater that we would go to a lot was in Ventura on Main Street, and often we'd see movies there. And sometimes Dad would like to, as soon as one was over, he'd be like, "Let's duck in and watch a little piece of this one." And we would jump into another screening room and sit where there was an open seat, and got away with it quite a lot. But he would also love to do that when he had one of his own films out, and he liked to sit in the back and just kind of watch the audience, get a little taste of how the film is actually playing out in the wild, and nobody knew that he was in there, So we did that once, I think, for Greatest Game Ever Played, and we got pulled out of the theater. And Dad didn't want to make a big thing of it, so he just said, "Yeah, we'll get out of here," and we took off. But yeah, they didn't even realize that it was his film.
That is so funny.
I have a funny little story, actually, another moment that was similar to this, but it's really funny. We were at Universal Studios once for my sister's birthday, and Dad had called to, hook up a kind of a nice like VIP experience for Lydia. She was probably turning 12 years old or something. We went with our god sister Dina. We were walking like down to, there's like, I don't know if you've ever been to Universal Studios, but there's a lot of different tiers, and there's a big lookout where they used to have Dad, Tom Hanks, and Kevin Bacon from Apollo 13, all like a giant cutout, all in their space suits. And people would take photos with them a lot and stuff. They're not there anymore, unfortunately, but they were there for probably 20 years. I don't know, long time. These ladies who are clearly visiting from some other country, like in Asia somewhere, came up to Dad and said, "Oh, can you please take a picture of us with," and he had his cap and his hat on, and they had no idea that they were talking to the guy and asking the guy who they're taking a picture with in the cutout to take a picture of them.
That is hilarious.
And Dad never broke. He said, "Yeah, of course. He took the photo," and they never knew. And it was just a funny memory I had.
That's awesome. I love that. What's it like to be directed by Fred Durst?
Fred Durst, he's such a film fanatic, which is he directed this film called The Fanatic that I was in with John Travolta, and he himself is a film fanatic. His first film, The Education of Charlie Banks, was with Jason Ritter and Jesse Eisenberg, young in their careers. And it's
Jason Ritter?
Jason Ritter.
You mean two-time previous guest of I'm sorry, I'll stop doing that.
Oh, really? Was he on too?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll stop doing
Jason.
that. Go ahead.
I haven't seen Jason in forever. No, it's okay. That's great. I'm glad that I'm in some good company here. I love Jason. So yeah, I love that film. And Fred was, he got a lot of praise for it. He's a real like student of film, and being directed by him was like, he takes it seriously, and he's very present with you. He gives you ideas. It was a pleasure. I got to say, it was a total pleasure working with Fred Durst.
Nice. Tell me about Philip Newbold Rylander.
Philip Newbold Rylander. Wow. That's crazy I think that's somebody that I did a paper about when I was in high school, who died in World War I. That's such a crazy, that's bringing back, that's going back a long ways. I went to a boarding school for a while that was...
How come?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you go to boarding school? I mean, you seemed happy as shit in Ojai at the public school system. Why'd you go to boarding school?
Exactly, I was. And in a lot of ways, I should have just stayed in that system. So Ojai has... When it comes to high school, it has like 4 or 5 different like really kind of renowned like preparatory boarding schools and high schools. At the time, my parents just felt that I would be able to get like the best education if I could go to Thatcher, the boarding school in the town. And I had a couple friends that I grew up with who their parents were like teachers there and stuff, and that I'd known since like preschool. They were all going there, some of my closest friends. So yeah, that's when I actually left the public school system and went to a private school for high school. The school goes way back, and it had, people that went to school there through the World Wars, and they had a dedication to our, the students that had died in those wars. And one of the assignments was to go pick a name and then do some research on that name and that person. And I picked Philip Newbold Rylander, who was shot down, if I remember correctly, in combat out of the air over France. That's going so far back, but that's about as much as I remember about that.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad I asked. Now, I'm going to do something that I've never done before, so let's see if this works. Okay, are you ready?
Okay. No way. Jeff?
Yeah, baby.
Hey, man.
Hey, how are you, my pal?
What's going on?
I heard my friend Steve-O was having you on. I said, I'd love to say hello. So how are you?
We were just singing your praises and talked a little bit about that amazing summer down in Mexico on Texas Rising.
It was amazing. It was certainly epic.
It was so epic. Yeah, and I want to thank you, for your recent, remembrance of Dad and everything.
Always, brother. Your dad is like the brother I never had, and I have a brother.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Yeah, no, that was great. I have a memory, Jeff, of you needed to do a tape down in Mexico, and you had me kind of film you out in the hotel, kind of outside, and did that tape. I remember that vividly and everything. I was soaking up so much game at the time, from all these.
And I got the job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did get the job. I remember that. I remember we celebrated. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Well, we did a lot of celebrating.
Absolutely. This is so wild, Steve. You've never tapped in a guest surprise?
I've never done this before, ever.
Wow.
I just had to talk to you, man, because I haven't seen you in a while. And because, the monumental day, that was 2 days ago. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate that.
I love you, kid. Hit me up when you get back in town. I'm not feeling that great today either, but I want to make sure I didn't miss this.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for coming in and saying hi. Love you too.
By the way, great kid, great guy. He was a great son, and he's also a great actor.
Thanks, Jeff. That means a lot.
He is a great musician. And Jeffrey is the one who turned me on to your music.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I told him you were coming on, and he said, well, you got to check out his music first.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm in.
Xander and you should get together. He's big.
I was going to say, your son is an incredible musician.
Yeah, he just released his first album. He's doing great. You guys would be great together.
Yeah, I'd love that. Well, I'd love to see you sometime. Let's stay in touch.
Of course, buddy. All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I love you.
See ya. That was incredible. What a surprise, man. That was awesome.
So he woke up and he wasn't feeling very well, so I didn't know if he was going to be able to make it, but I didn't want to spoil the surprise, though.
Dude, thank you so much, Steve. That was really cool.
That was really cool. Take that, Nardwar.
Yeah, exactly. Can Nardwar do this? Amazing.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Let's talk about some things. A while ago, you were working on a quote, gutter trash Shakespeare heroine tale feature.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And how's it going? How's it coming?
That's going back a long time. That was my first lead in a feature ever.
Really?
Yeah, that was, I shot that in 2015.
Oh, shit.
It was a super indie film called Boogeyman Pop. We went up to Bend, Oregon and shot it.
I just had some friends move there.
Oh yeah? Yeah, Bend's cool.
From the Houston area. They were like, fuck this. And they went to Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, Bend's a good spot. I could see you wanting to go from, no offense to Houston, but it's going from there to Bend. It's so green and beautiful. That was my first film that I ever actually also was like producing. And I finished the film. We ran out of money. We were like 2/3 of the way finished, and we took it to Blumhouse and sold it to Blumhouse.
Oh.
They gave us a little more to finish it. I was already wrapped out. The storytelling was elliptical, so it was all about the first night of summer break and through the perspective of these 3 different main characters. The story keeps looping back to this same moment, but then following one of those characters. It's a really imaginative, wild movie. It's about kids, and it's just set in like a dead-end kind of Pacific Northwest, like nowhere kids type of town, and they all want to get out of there. They're all like, doing drugs. That's why it's like this gutter trash kind of punk rock thing. They're all into punk and stuff. But it was beautiful writing. That's why I put the Shakespeare in there. And unfortunately, there was some issues with like an investor or something. And the film was sold to Shudder, but then there wasn't adequate paperwork to finish the sale. And Blumhouse shelved it. And it did film festivals and never got a public release.
Wasn't adequate paperwork.
Yeah, like the record keeping wasn't done too well, I think, in terms of the actual filming. I mean, it was like guerrilla filmmaking.
Right, it's an indie film. I'm surprised there's any paperwork.
Exactly. I mean, it was like, the kind of thing where like we threw an actual punk rock like concert with this band called the Beer Slayers. And all the kids, all they had to do was like, who were extras there, they had to show up, show an ID, sign a waiver, and they basically just got paid in like free beer and jumped around, listened to music, and we filmed, and I was in a mosh pit scene and all this stuff. And it was that kind of thing. And it was so fun, and I learned so much on that job. It's a sore spot just because it never got a release, and I'm really proud of it. I mean, Blumhouse put out the trailer and everything on their like YouTube channel, and it was supposed to come out. It did great at like Fantastic Fest and different festivals. Anyways, it played a bunch of festivals, and
sure.
I'm hoping one day it comes out. So that's a movie that's, one day maybe somebody can get the rights back. Maybe Brad Elmore, the director and writer, can get it back and put it out somehow.
Well, I'm glad I could bring up a touchy subject.
No, it's okay. I just love the film, and it was like kind of like the beginning of my career. And anyways, Boogeyman Pop. Let's resurrect it one day.
Holy fuck. That was you? Whoa.
What do you mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have royalty here. Oh my gosh.
Royalty. You
voiced Kim Cattrall's character's son on the Hulu hit series, How I Met Your Father.
I did.
Fucking love that show, bro.
Yeah. That was a great job. I'm at liberty to speak of it now, but at the time, I couldn't reveal that I was the voice of the unseen son because it was a whole mystery about who the dad could be. They didn't want anybody knowing like the ethnicity or anything because it might inform like who the dad could be.
That makes sense because in the original series, everybody on the show, like How I Met Your Mother, everybody was white, so it didn't really matter. You couldn't play a guessing game. But on How I Met Your Father, everybody was not white. There was a bunch of different ethnicities, so that makes sense that it would be under wraps for that. That makes sense. I didn't think about that. That's cool.
Exactly. I remember I had submitted the audition. I'd done 2 takes into my phone of my voice. I was traveling back to New York and I had forgotten to get the audition in on time. And I was like, fuck, like I'm a day late here. And I asked my manager, I said, can I still send you this? I'll do it right now. I literally did it in my car the moment I got home because it's kind of like a nice little sound box. They said, yeah, it's fine. And then I didn't hear anything for like maybe 2 months. And then one day I get woken up kind of early in the morning. And my agents, my managers are all on the call. And they said, hey, you got the job. You got How I Met Your Father. And I go, what? What job? What is it? Because I literally had done it so fast that I didn't know exactly what it was. I submit a lot of auditions, a lot of audition tapes. They're like, you got the voice role, but it's a live action show. But I was like, wait, what is this? Like, how is this going to work? But it's like you creatively have to be uncredited on the show, even though you're going to be in every episode and everything. I go, okay, this is just an unusual thing. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, I remember the original show. Okay, this is making sense. And then it was so beautiful, like how they had me on the show because they allowed me, instead of having to do this in like some ADR booth by myself, they allowed me to come on a set with Kim Cattrall. And so my whole recording was done there with Kim, just off camera. They just tilted, they just gave her an eye line. I had my lines. I was on the soundstage with her all day. They just tilted one of those stage boom mics over to me. I didn't even have to like memorize my lines. I had a trailer, everything. It was like so nice. I was like a regular on the show, but it was awkward because I couldn't talk about it while the show was on. So everybody was guessing. It was kind of fun though. I kind of loved that element that nobody really knew, but you could hear my voice in all the episodes. And I got to know Kim really well.
How did they credit you?
They didn't, it just ended up on, I was able to end up talking about it legally once the show like concluded because they shut it down during the strike, unfortunately, which it was doing very well. It was just, I think it was a costly show. They were cutting back a lot of things. It was one of the most watched shows on Hulu during its run. We did 10 episodes in the first season and then got the second season picked up for 20 for the second. So I did 30 episodes of that show and they just couldn't credit me in the actual credits. So it just ended up on IMDb, I think, as a uncredited.
So you just weren't like, there's just no mention at all of you. Like if I'm watching the show and I'm waiting for the credits, you're just not there.
Yeah, I'm just not there. It was part of the deal terms because they were like, I'm sorry, we have to do this. It's just like we really want to keep the audience on their toes and not give anything away. And I said, I totally understand. I got to know Hilary Duff on that show and Kim especially. And I'd go to the rap parties and hang out with the cast and stuff. It was a bit funny, like, cause I was a part of it, but I also felt like I wasn't, but it was a great job. Wonderful people. Yeah. I wish it was still going on today.
Do you know where Hilary Duff lived right before she moved to Los Angeles?
I believe she lived in Bernie, Texas.
She did live in Bernie, Texas, you son of a gun.
I listened to your episode with Bobby.
Who played her dad on Lizzie McGuire.
Of course, yeah. And honestly, I didn't. I gotta say though, I learned that through your podcast.
So did he.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now you were the lead in a TV show on USA Network called Eyewitness.
Yeah. It was a limited series, a 10-episode limited series TV show. Yeah.
So what was it like being the captain of the ship?
That was incredible. Eyewitness remains like one of every job is special and I'm grateful for every job, but obviously some are just a bit more special because of the timing, what they represent, what it was like, the experience. Eyewitness is like in my top 3 favorite projects that I've ever gotten to do. It was my first real job and my first real break, as they would say. Like I had been auditioning really, really regularly for about 2 years, getting closer and closer. I'd get callbacks, wasn't quite landing anything. And then I was really feeling quite ill one morning, and I almost passed on this audition, or I tried to reschedule it, and they couldn't have rescheduled it because whatever reason, they were moving to the next stage and they were seeing this last round of actors. So I pushed through, went to do it. Found out that Catherine Hardwicke was actually in the room with the casting director. I didn't know that the director was going to be in the room. I immediately start going into the audition. I'm like 2 lines into the audition, into the first scene, and Catherine stops me. I'm like, oh fuck. I'm screwing this up right now. Like, I'm already like shot myself in the foot. I feel sick. Like I shouldn't be here. She gives me some direction. I get a little further into the scene. She stops me again. I'm like, I'm fucked. She has me do it again. I get through a scene. I do a few others. It's the most unorthodox way I've ever been cast in a show.
Was she giving you notes every time she stopped?
Mm-hmm.
Was she giving you direction?
She was giving me direction and really detailed notes, like very specific stuff. And I found out it was because I think she liked something about me, wanted me to come back, because she said at the end of that, she said, hey, I know this is a little unorthodox, but I'm doing chemistry reads with a number of actors with the other lead actor that they've already cast at my house tomorrow in Venice. Can you come? And right there in the audition room, I said, yeah, of course, I'll come. So I did another round the next day, like reading with the actual other actor. And then I got back for another round. They kept whittling it down. I was like, fuck, I'm really getting close here. And then I had a meeting with the showrunner and creator of the show at his house. And I was like, okay, I'm really close now. But I was getting nervous. And then the day after that meeting, I used to work for a catering company called Whoa Nelly. We do like a lot of weddings and events. And I was working a wedding with the director of Boogeyman Pop. We were all, all of us who came up together, we were all doing catering jobs and things like that. I finished that. I told my friend, I was like, I'm really close here. I'm really close. And then and he's like, I got my fingers crossed. The next night, I'm driving to acting class at Vince's, and I get the call that they're like, pull over right now. All my reps are on it. I was like, this is either great news or bad news. And I booked the job. And I remember I was so happy. I ran across, I used to park in this McDonald's parking lot down the street from Vince before they started ticketing people. And I remember jumping out and screaming and running across the parking lot. And then I just doubled over and vomited because I was so excited. In times of extreme happiness or extreme sadness.
You grew up in the McDonald's parking lot?
I threw up in the McDonald's parking lot in some bushes. Yeah. Next to the parking lot.
I'm sure passersby were like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah. Yeah. The Hollywood, in the middle of Hollywood. And, in times of extreme, excitement or extreme sadness, I get really dry heavey and pukey. It's just a weird natural thing. But anyways, I could hardly sit through that acting class that night.
I can't even believe you went.
Yeah, I went, and I was just like, holy fuck, because it was straight to pickup. Not only did I book a pilot that pilot season, I booked the whole show. They had already funded it. I was headed to Canada for 4 months, and it was amazing being in that kind of role. I loved the whole cast. I was working opposite Julianne Nicholson, who I still am pretty sure she's the finest actor I've ever really gotten to work with. I've worked with a lot of great ones, but I think she might be the best that I've worked with personally. I love all of her work. I'm so happy to see her go on to win, Emmys and stuff. I mean, she's just so great. That was life-changing. I remember Dad was like, I told him and he really couldn't believe it. There was mostly a huge sense of relief from him. He was like, okay, you can, all right. This is, I guess, you're off to the races now. And he said, this is a real ticket to ride was his terminology for it, which was basically this is a big leagues thing, don't fuck it up basically. But also he was like, it was a relief because I think, he knew you have connections and you have advantages, of course, when you are related to people. But, he struggled so much through his career. I just don't think he wanted to necessarily see me really commit to this career. That's why he got really serious when I first was interested in it and saying, you got to go study with Vince. You got to buckle down. You should get some film set experience. I don't care what that is, That's why I worked, I've worked different departments on film sets. I've done props. I've done crafty. I've been a production assistant numerous times. It was just be on set, learn this. So Eyewitness blew the door wide open for me. It was I've got something to build on here. And it was such special writing. I'm so near and dear to the character. And Eyewitness is just so special in so many ways for me. I'll never forget it. It was the greatest first big job any actor could have.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Warning.
Not listening to Fascination Street podcast may cause unexpected side effects. Side effects may include sudden fits of boredom, irrational curiosity about everything you missed, the inability to name your favorite podcast interview, spontaneous ignorance of obscure celebrity stories, talking to coworkers about nothing because you didn't hear the latest episode. Other symptoms may include excessive use of the phrase, "Wait, what happened?" Chronic seriousness with no trace of laughter or delight, unexplainable urge to scroll aimlessly instead of being entertained. In rare cases, not listening may lead to wandering aimlessly through podcast apps, overexposure to true crime reruns, and thinking you're cooler than you actually are. If you find yourself experiencing any of these symptoms, stop what you're doing immediately and download Fascination Street Podcast. Ask your podcaster if Fascination Street Podcast is right for you. Spoiler alert, it is.
Let's get back into it.
So a few weeks ago, on April 17th, you had a film hit the theaters called Last Train to Fortune. Oh my gosh, bro, you're getting to work with Malcolm McDowell and Mary Stevers and Bernadette Peters. Tell me why this film is so important to you.
Last Train to Fortune, like I was saying earlier about Eyewitness, you can count those special jobs really on one hand. And Last Train is right there in my top few jobs I've ever done. I mean, I've never carried a film or lived with a film for so long. And so to see it come out into the world is it's just this huge relief and release for me, because I believed in this film since 2018 when I was first approached to do it. And we developed it for years before the timing was right with everything. I can't even describe what an arrival it is for me to see it come out into the world and to have worked with Malcolm McDowell on set, first in, last out, every day with Malcolm was like just stepping into a masterclass with one of my favorite actors, of all time every day. I just could not come close to describing it. It's such a special film. It's a family-friendly Western that has such a positive and uplifting message and it's a real love letter to great mentors and teachers, and talks all about the, having an appreciation for reading and how books can take you anywhere. But it's also funny. It's not preachy. It's got tons of heart. Last Train to Fortune, please, everybody go see it. I'm immensely proud of it.
If you happen to have missed it while it was in theaters, it will be on VOD in early May. So definitely check it out wherever you can find it. Maybe a month or so before that, Grind was at South by Southwest. Bro, check you out. You're all over the place.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Grind premiered at South by Southwest. Grind is like a horror satire. It's like a very dark comedy with fantastical horror elements. It's an anthology story with 3 different kind of main stories, and I appear in 2 of them. Super proud of that one as well. A lot of fun to shoot that. I've done a lot of work in the past 3.5 years, 4 years, and so much of it has taken so long to make its way into the world. As is the nature with independent film in today's day and age, you're never quite finished shepherding a film out into the world. Even after you finish filming it, that's just sort of the beginning of a whole nother process. I'm happy to be, like you said, all over the place with these releases right now. It's been a long culmination of a lot of work that I've done in the past 3.5 years.
Well, you're working your little hiney off, my man.
Can't complain. That's right.
Let's talk about music.
Yes, please.
I don't want to talk about Flamingo Dogs. Just kidding. I want to talk all about Flamingo Dogs.
Flamingo Dogs. Yes, thanks for asking. Flamingo Dogs is my oldest musical collaboration. It's a duo that I have with my oldest friend in the world, Jared McGill. We went to preschool together. In middle school, at a school called Matilaha in Ojai, we were getting really into music at the time. I was always exposed to different music growing up. So was he. But we were getting into it in we actively are searching out shows to go to and begging our parents to take us to. And we are just starting to follow stuff online, MySpace, all that stuff, discovering things with the internet. We're really into hip hop. Jared and I made diss tracks against each other, really crude, gnarly diss tracks, as you would do, as a middle schooler. Through that process, we kind of realized that Jared was pretty good at making beats and making and composing stuff. And I was more into the lyrical vocal side. And so we started making music together where he makes the beats and most of the production stuff and I do the vocals, and Flamingo Dogs was born. It's my longest music collaboration ever. We've kind of gone through a lot of different genres. We started more in alternative hip hop kind of music, and now it's more electro pop kind of indie bedroom pop type of dancey kind of stuff, more electronic leaning. Yeah, we're still putting out music today.
Yes, you are. But I mean, it's all in a Jay's work, right?
It's all in a Jay's work. That was our original name. Jay's work, all in a Jay's work, which is, kids have a hard time coming up with band names. It's not easy. That's why we landed on, the genius name of Flamingo Dogs. So. At least it's memorable.
Arose by any other name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've been making music since you're 13. What about Soundaze? What?
Soundaze, thank you for asking. Yeah, so I work still frequently in both Flamingo Dogs and Soundaze. Soundaze was born originally sort of as an extension of Flamingo Dogs, but it's become totally its own thing because we started collaborating with one of my other best friends in the world, Dayton Sinkaya. He's a talented actor. He's been on shows like Letterkenny and all these different things. And we met in acting class in Vincent Chase's class. And then years later, I found out that, he had actually a musical background back in Toronto where he was from. He just hadn't, dabbled in music in a long time. And we recorded a song that he was featured on for Flamingo Dogs. And then we were like, oh, this really works. He was like an additional vocalist. It's like, this really works. We're doing kind of, alternative hip hop. And we ended up being like, you know what? Like, we should make more of this music. The sound was so different with his addition to it that it was like, this is its own band now. And then Soundaze was born in 2019. That song he featured on with Flamingo Dogs became like the first Soundaze song. And now we're releasing tons of music. We just released a couple months ago, a song called Good Fight with a music video. It's on YouTube. And, all our music with Flamingo Dogs and Soundaze is on all the streaming platforms. Actually, yeah, we just released another one called Not a Machine. Soundaze is a genre jumping group that really has its roots in hip hop, but it dabbles in rock. It dabbles in dance. It dabbles in R&B, these different things. So, yeah, those are the two bands that I'm part of.
Those are the two bands that you are a part of, but yet there is one more project, which is, no offense, my favorite of the three projects. You, my friend, are Love, Pax.
Thank you, Steve. Yes.
There's the song by Love, Pax that is not in any way related to the genres that you just spoke of with those other two bands. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you would let me play this song. It's my favorite song from Love, Pax. It is called Count on Me.
I knew that.
Can I play Count on Me?
Yes, please.
Will you do me a favor?
Yep.
Will you introduce it like you're a radio DJ?
Yeah, hey, you guys, this is James Paxton. I'm live on Fascination Street with Steve Owens, and this is my song from my project Love Pax entitled Count on Me.
Drowning in front of your eyes. You love me, but you're getting tired. Insanity nipping at my heels, and we both don't know why it is this way that I feel. I'm sorry, we're the best of friends. My brothers, please let me make amends. We're all getting old. The pressure builds to break the mold. Over and over I fought to see you both succeed. I hope that you know you can always count on me. and I'll be coming home into the arms of you. Show me love, show me something you'd forgive me for. Show me what I'm living for. Shower me with dirty water and beg me to be clean. Shower me with dirty water, rinse, wash, and repeat. We're all getting old. The pressure builds to break the mold. Over and over I fall to see you both succeed. I hope that you know you can always count on me. We're all getting old.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Love Pax is my most personal music. It's definitely an exploration of a genre that I grew up loving. You know, Dad would play me like people like Nick Drake and Elliott Smith a lot, Simon and Garfunkel. Like, you know, I love these more folky, kind of mellower, emotional kinds of music. And I had actually just started learning guitar, like trying to pick it up and teach myself when Dad passed. And I totally threw myself into getting better at it in the years since he's passed. So it's a tough one because I really wish that he could hear these songs.
You know he's listening. He can hear them.
I believe that. You know, I dedicated Count on Me to him. I wrote a lot of these songs actually in the moments like kind of post his passing in the first few years. I wrote a lot of these songs on guitar. Every time I'd learn a new chord and I could play a new chord progression, because I just play kind of rhythm guitar and I work with musicians who can add more fancy flourishes to the songs. But every time I learned a new chord, it was like, okay, I'm going to write a new song now. And I wrote a lot of these songs and I'm still writing songs all the time as Love Pax. And that's what I'm going to be really focusing on in the future. I just finished a new music video and I have another song called Snapshot that I wrote on guitar. And it's definitely like an outlet that I needed because Love Pax is literally my signature. It's how I sign off on emails often, on letters. I always write Love, Pax. Most people call me Pax or J-Pax growing up. It was kind of my main nickname. And so this is me, that music. So thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate the support on that.
No, 100%. That song is a banger.
It's a mellow banger.
It is a mellow banger. It's really awesome. I love it a lot.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I like to say on this show when I have someone such as yourself is, bro, save some for everybody else. You are creative in so many, like you're stealing all the creativity. You're hogging it up for yourself. You're in television and film. You write and perform music. And now let me get this straight. You upcycle pieces of furniture. What does that mean?
I do upcycle furniture pieces. So my mom was an art teacher, and she would run like a volunteer art program called Art Trek in the schools that my sister and I, like San Antonio. She'd come to San Antonio, our elementary school, because they had cut the budget for any kind of art programs in California public schools at the time. And so my mom started this thing called Art Trek, where she would come with another volunteer teacher, and she would teach, different methods to the students and run like an art portion like twice a week, and like a little class. And I loved it. And she's a huge inspiration to me artistically. And I grew up drawing in this sort of abstract style. I draw these kind of patterned creatures, like these big fish and these big serpent looking things. And she was always encouraging of it. I never showed it to anybody besides her. And I would always just immerse myself in it though as a kid, like just drawing until the late hours of the night. A couple years ago, I was on my way to a restaurant. I saw this wooden chair out on the street, and I was with my partner, and she said, "Why don't we pick that up? That looks like a pretty, well put together chair. We could just give it a new paint job, and you could draw on it." Because I had finally shown her some stuff. I was like, I don't know. She's like, no, let's do it. It'll be fun. So we picked it up. I ended up painting it a solid coat. And because I didn't know about these great non-toxic paint pens at the time, I drew on Sharpie, which was a bad move. I inhaled a lot of toxic fumes. And it started to fade. I had to go all over it with like paint pens again. And I did that, and then I sealed it with a polyacrylic top coat. And then I was like, wow, this turned out pretty cool, And I started picking stuff up off the street, and I'll sand it, and I'll glue it together, I'll fix it up, paint it, and then I'll illustrate all over it with my art style. And I've just started kind of selling a lot of these pieces. People have gone, oh, can you make me one? Can you make me one? I've got like a back order of commissions right now, and it's been really cool. I'm somebody who always needs a creative outlet, especially the time between jobs, film and TV jobs, where it's all out of my control. I need stuff like art and music that I can just do on my own terms to keep me going between those jobs.
It's the kind of shit that keeps us out of trouble.
Exactly. Totally. And so that's, yeah. So now I upcycle, furniture that people try to get rid of by leaving it out on the street. And I always tag underneath, I write where I found it.
Oh, cool.
Street name.
So is there a place where somebody can go to see these pieces that you're doing?
I'm going to make a TikTok page for it eventually, but it's so much work covering all these different pages. I started an Instagram account. It's at Paxton Illustrated. That's where you can find it. And I have a YouTube channel where I'm just posting clips of it and the process, also under Paxton Illustrated.
So on the YouTube channel, you post clips of you actually doing it, of you in the process of doing it?
Yeah, I have a couple like time-lapse videos of me where you see me kind of hunched over drawing meticulously.
That's really cool, man. That's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, funnily enough, actually, do you see that chair, that yellow chair right there?
Uh-huh, yeah.
That's the first one I ever did that I had to go over Sharpie. It's got my a laptop on it right now, but yeah, that's
really cool.
I'm keeping that one, of course.
For sure. That's awesome. So how long does something like that take you?
They take way too long. They take me like a month at least each piece. Some of them longer. I made a huge one for my mom's 60th birthday, a huge coffee table. It was the biggest one I ever took on, and that one took me about 2.5 months.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's keeping you out of a lot of trouble.
Yes, it is.
I know we didn't talk about a lot of stuff, but we did talk about a lot of stuff. For those listening, again, Last Train to Fortune was in theaters mid-April. It's on VOD in early May. Also, since it was debuted at South by Southwest, I'm sure it's going to be somewhere. It's going to find a home somewhere after that. The Anthology Grind. Mm-hmm. And you got a feature that opened back in March, which is also now on VOD, called Dragon, D-R-A-G-N. Is that right?
Yes, Dragon, D-R-A-G-N, is an acronym. It's a sci-fi horror thriller that Peter Weber directed. He directed Hannibal Rising and Girl with a Pearl Earring with Scarlett Johansson. He's an English director, and I went out and did this wild movie in Serbia. It's about a new experimental AI military drone technology that this company called Mantis is testing on these unwitting participants in this experiment. Basically, it's like a corporate retreat. We all represent different global offices, and we're out there in Serbia, and we think it's like a team building bonding exercise, but there's this drone technology that's like stalking us through the forest, and it starts becoming sentient faster than the company can control it and it starts hunting us down. It's got, you know, like an alien type of vibe to it. It's a lot of fun. It's just a real action thrill ride.
Sounds fucking terrifying.
It is pretty scary, actually. Yeah, it's pretty scary. Yeah.
That sounds crazy as shit. Tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias, and if there is a website, hit that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can follow along with my projects on Instagram at This Is James Paxton, with the art stuff at Paxton Illustrated. The bands have social media pages at Soundaze Music, at Flamingo Dogs.
What about Love Packs? Does that have its own thing?
Yes, Love Packs. Yeah, you know, Love Packs, I post primarily the Love Pack stuff on my main Instagram page at This Is James Paxton, but I would love it if people would subscribe to the music channel I have on YouTube, which is just at Love Packs. That is a newer account. That's where I'm putting all the music videos, all that stuff. I'm really trying to get that going. Yeah, I'm not hard to find. Always happy to be sharing some kind of artistic thing, and, you know, in the hopes that people dig it, you know?
Well, you have a lot to be dug, my friend. You got a lot going on.
Thanks, Steve.
Like I said, I know we didn't get to some stuff, but did we cover the big bits? Like, was there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask about that you wanted to talk about today? Did we get to the good stuff?
I think that this was a very thorough, amazing interview. I can't think of anything specifically right now that we're missing. Yeah, I just want people to go see those films and check that out and check out the music. We covered a lot. You went in depth. It's great.
Well, thank you. And don't forget, we did have a surprise pop-on guest, which I am so glad that worked.
Yeah, we love you, Jeff, if you're still listening.
James Paxton. J-Pax. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic acting, singing, writing, arting, upcycling schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I love being on Fascination Street, and I hope you'll have me again sometime.
You are always welcome, my man. Dude, you're a badass. This was so much fun.
I think you're a badass, Steve. I really genuinely, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for, you know, doing that research. It's always appreciated when you're being interviewed, when, like, you know that the person who's interviewing you really knows their stuff and cares, you know, and I appreciate that.
You're gonna make me cry.
Don't get too emotional.
Dude, seriously, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. You too. I'll talk to you later. All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Opening music is from the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Kosh, written, performed, and provided with the blessings of Kosh Mojo himself. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. All episodes are available ad-free at patreon.com/Fascination Street Podcast. And don't forget to follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. And again, thanks for listening.